It's time to see which light novel series as well as individual volumes were the top sellers in Japan in 2018. Hello everybody and welcome to this special end of year countdown. Well, it's not quite over yet, but we're getting to that time of year to count down the top 10 best-selling individual volumes in the light novel world in Japan in 2018, as well as counting down the best-selling series overall in Japan in the year 2018. This list comes from Oricon, which is sort of like the source for bestseller lists in Japan. So at each stop on the list, number 10, 9, 8, 7, I will go over both the top-selling volume at that spot as well as the top-selling series. Now, a note ahead of time, every single series on this list is licensed in English, so we can buy all of them, although one of the series, it actually hasn't had a volume officially released in English. It's still coming next year, so you gotta wait for it, but at least all of these titles are going to be available for us in the English market. And for these series, I'll make sure that I've got a link in the description down below if you want to go over to Amazon and check out any of these titles for yourself. So starting off at number 10. First of all, the number 10 best-selling volume of 2018 was Detective Conan, Zero the Enforcer. This one by Shima Mizuki, and it released in April of 2018. It sold 131,790 copies in 2018 from its time of release. This one is actually the adaptation of the Detective Conan film that came out this year. Was hugely popular, like in the top 10 best-selling light novels. It hung in there for a good number of weeks, so not too shocking to see this one hit the list. In the number 10 spot for a series, we have No Game, No Life by Yuu Kamiya. Now, this sold 350,960 total number of volumes over the past year. Now, in 2018, they only had one volume release from this series, but it was actually the first time that a volume had been released since 2016. So I'm kind of thinking that's where a lot of the sales came from this series, was the hype of the fact that it was actually getting a new volume and was being put into the public sphere once again. It could also be some carryover from the new game, No Game, No Life Zero movie, which it did come out over a year ago, but it could be still that, there's just some still carry over from that, or, perhaps some new fans that got into it because of that movie and were sort of buying the series over the past couple of months into 2018. At the number 9 spot for best-selling volume, we have volume 13 of Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? This one, of course, by Fujino Omori, and it released February in 2018. It sold 138,937 copies. At the number 9 spot for series, we have Sword Art Online by Reki Kawahara. Now, bear in mind, this is the actual Sword Art Online series. It does not include any of the other spin-off series like Gun Gale Online or Progressive. It is just volumes 1 to 20 of Sword Art Online. And what's kind of notable about that is that not a single new volume was released in the Sword Art Online series during the entire time frame that this list covers. So this is just fans continually buying this series. Now, it's very likely with Alicization being announced and that arc starting this year in anime, it's very possible that that helped spur on a lot of sales. But nonetheless, this is just one of those series that seems at times unstoppable in terms of its performance. And with like a brand new volume, volume number 21, coming out this month, well, just expect it to keep on going for a while. At number 8 for the top-selling volume of 2018, we have volume number 13 of Konosuba, God's Blessing on This Wonderful World. That by Natsume Akatsuki. It was actually released December of 2017, so sales carrying over now. Admittedly, this list actually does encompass December of 2017, because of course they put it out sort of, well, now, so it can't encompass all of December. So not too shocking that it was included in here. It sold 143,251 copies in the year. At the number 8 spot for series, we have Classroom of the Elite by Shunsaku Tomose. This one had 3 volumes released in 2018. Total sales for the series were 393,949 copies. Again, a series that has done very well since the anime came out over a year ago. And we do have, this is the one series that is licensed for English, but we have yet to have a single volume released. It's coming out next year from 7 Seas. At number 7, for the top-selling volume at this spot, we have volume 26 of The Irregular at Magic High School by Tsutomu Sato. This one was released August of 2018. It sold 152,569 copies. Now, spoiler alert, this is not the last time that we're going to be hearing about a volume of The Irregular at Magic High School on this list. And you know what? That's part of the reason why I don't do these separate, because well, I just kind of find the volume 1 a little boring by itself, because you get a lot of repeats, and, well, you'll see what I mean. At the number 7 spot for series, we have Sword Art Online Progressive, of course, by Reki Kawahara. 2 volumes were released in 2018 of this series, and in total there were 426,794 volumes sold of this series in 2018. Again, spurred not only on by the interest in Sword Art Online, but also I guess probably because these 2 volumes, 5 and 6, that came out in 2018 were the first volumes of this series in well over a year. So again, you know, that rabid fan base that I talked about before with just the regular Sword Art Online, well, they were looking to get their Aincrad fix in 2018. At number 6, the top-selling volume at this spot was Volume 10 of No Game, No Life. It was released February of 2018, of course, by Yuu Kamiya. It sold 161,121 copies, and like I said, it was the first time this series had had a new volume in well over a year. At the number 6 spot for series, we have The Ryuo's Work Is Never Done by Shiro Shiratori. This had 3 volumes released in 2018, and overall sold 478,242 copies. Now, of course, this recently had an anime back in January that probably spurred on a good number of these sales, but I don't think it hurts that for the past 2 years, at least 2 years prior to the most recent Kono light novel Gasugoi, this had been the number 1 pick for the Bunko list. So, obviously quite well known, very well received, and doing pretty well. And it's kind of funny because this is one of the few that does not have an actual individual volume in the top 10 bestseller list. These are just sales across the board for this series. At number 5, for the top selling volume at this spot, we have volume 25 of The Irregular at Magic High School, of course by Tsutomu Sato. This one was released April of 2018. It sold 166,745 copies. Like I said, will not be the last time actually that we're going to be talking about a volume of The Irregular at Magic High School. Spoilers! At the number 5 spot for series, we have That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime by Fusei. Now, it had 2 copies released actually in 2018, but it did have a 3rd volume that came out in December of 2017, so chances are it is included in these sales. Overall, the series sold 539,277 copies. I'm sure part of that was spurred on by the fact that it has an anime, and the anime is actually airing right now and seems to be quite well received. So I think the news that it was getting the anime and maybe even once the anime started airing kind of helped boost the sales of this series, even though, again, it is a popular series overall. It has placed in Kono light novel ga Sugoi for the past couple of years. So, again, a series that is relatively well known, quite popular, and again is actually receiving a fairly decent anime adaptation currently. At number 4, the top-selling volume at this spot, Volume 24 of The Irregular at Magic High School by Tsutomu Sato. This one released in March of 2018. And yes, this will finally be the last volume on the top 10 volume sales. It sold 170,766 copies in 2018. At the number 4 spot in the series, we have ReZero, Starting Life in Another World. This is by Tappei Nagatsuki. There were 2 volumes released in 2018, at least during the time frame that this covers. It's actually getting another new volume coming out this month, but that'll be included in 2019's sales. It sold 619,031 copies. I think this is a series that, like Classroom of the Elite, has continued to just do very well because of the strength of its anime and the anime fandom buying into the series. Also kind of like keeping it in the public eye was the announcement of the OVA that's coming for this one. So a couple of things kind of helping this series along, but again, it's one of those series that it's like the whole series is doing well because not a single one of its individual volumes in the top 10. At number 3, for the individual volume at this spot, we have Volume 6 of Sword Art Online Progressive by Reki Kawahara. This one released in May of 2018 and sold overall 177,656 copies. At the number 3 spot in series, we have The Irregular at Magic High School by Tsutomu Sato. There were 4 volumes released in 2018. No kidding, I've listed off 3 of those 4 already. Overall, the series sold 626,952 copies. Now, what's kind of interesting to me about this is that it's not the top-selling series, even though it has 3 volumes in the top 10, which kind of says to me that it's uber popular with its existing fan base. It has a very big fan base, but if you combine those 3 volumes, their sales, it doesn't seem like there's quite as many new people buying into the series as, say a series where you don't have like as many of the new volumes ranking in the top 10 or no volumes at all, like say ReZero, Classroom of the Elite, that time I was reincarnated as a slime, right? So to me, like those series, it seems to me like those are series that continue to have popularity even with new fans. Whereas it seems like if you take a look at the sales volume of these books, it seems to me like it's pretty much all the new volumes driving the majority of the sales in the case of The Irregular at Magic High School. Part of that could maybe just be that as a new fan, it must be intimidating to take a look at a series that has 27 plus volumes and think, I'm going to get started on that. At the number 2 spot for individual volume, we have Volume 5 of Sword Art Online Progressive by Reki Kawahara. This one came out February of 2018. It sold 208,825 copies overall during the year. What can you say? You had to know that the 2 Sword Art books were going to be pretty high on the list, right? That can't be too much of a surprise. At the number 2 spot for series, we have Konosuba, God's Blessing on This Wonderful World by Natsume Akatsuki. Now, in 2018, this had 3 volumes released. There were also 2 spin-off volumes released during that same time frame. Now, I don't know if this list included the sales from those because they are sort of a spin-off, but seeing as how it's separated progressive and just normal sword art, I'm kind of thinking not. So I'm thinking these sales are just based on the main Konosuba series, but again, I'm not 100% sure. Overall, the series sold 630,889 copies in 2018. Finally, in the number 1 spot. And what's kind of fun about number 1 is that both the individual volume as well as the overall series are the same series. So first off, the volume is going to be volume 13 of Overlord. This one by Kugane Maruyama. It released in April of 2018 and sold 240,361 copies. So very commanding spot of number 1, selling almost over 30,000 more copies than the number 2 spot. Again, probably driven not only by the fact that this series is just ridiculously popular, but also this one did have a 3rd anime season that came out at the beginning of the year. So I kind of think like that definitely that anime would have driven a lot of fan interest in this series. But I mean, let's remember, 13 is a good 4 volumes beyond what the anime covered. So it's not like this was just anime fans trying to catch up or anything. So again, Overlord doing very, very well. And obviously, because I said that the number 1 spot would come from the same series, number 1 overall series, Overlord. This one, now check this out. So it only had the 1 volume released, which was volume 13 in 2018. And yet overall, the series sold 807,693 copies. So that is about 170,000 or so copies more than the number 2 spot over Konosuba. Huge, huge. And like I said, also recall, 1, it only had 1 volume compared to a lot of the other series that had multiple volumes. 2, this is strictly copies sold. This isn't dollars. And you have to recall that this Overlord in Japan is actually in the tankobon format. So it's actually a little bit more expensive. It's not like it's just some cheap like mass market that is affordable by everybody. I mean, I'm not saying that it's like a small fortune to buy it compared to a bunko, but still it does make a difference that you have a book that is more expensive and is selling that much. Also, the fact that the series overall is considered to appeal to an older audience. So, I mean, to me, overall, this just speaks to a whole bunch of different things. You know, you've got that slightly older demographic, you have a more expensive book, you have a series that is actually very well written. It just all adds up to an incredibly successful series. And again, like I said, I don't think the anime certainly hurt having the 3rd season of the anime coming out this year, but at the same time, like I said, I mean, this one has gone 4 volumes beyond what the anime covered and has still done those bonus sales. And I mean, really, if you take a look at that 807,000, more than a quarter of that is just volume 13. Goes to show you just how rabid the fan base is to get new volumes of this series. And I mean, the author really only puts out 1 a year. As far as I remember, or as far as I have been told, this is a part-time gig for this guy. He's actually got a full-time job outside of writing Overlord. So just kind of ponder that for a little while. Not a pretty bad little side job to sell, you know, over 800,000 books in a single year. So those are the top 10 best-selling volumes as well as series in Japan. Now, I didn't give you a synopsis of the series because, like I said, all of these are available in English. I'll link to Amazon in the description down below if you want to go check it out and sort of take a look at what it's about if you're not familiar. As I said, it's nice, though, that at least all of these books are available in English, and certainly those of you that are light novel fans are probably aware of them. And even if you're brand new to light novels, like I said, it's pretty easy to find information on these individual series. Now, in case you're wondering, I will definitely be doing my own 2018 top 10 list, but I'll probably put that out between Christmas and New Year's Day, just because I like to leave it up until the very last second, just in case I read anything really new that's awesome. So thanks so much for watching this video. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.